Hello, I'm Metagross Freak, and like I said in my studio update video, um, because of changes to my desk and how I am going to be, I guess, arranging things on my desk, I can't film videos like I normally do anymore. Unfortunately, I can't fit Transformers and their boxes and everything on my desk. So I'm trying out a new format. I've done this format here a couple times, but hopefully this will work for any upcoming videos. But today we're going to be taking a look at Transformers Combiner Force Power Surge Optimus Prime. Now, I know I basically said with both the Bumblebee figure and for the Activator Optimus Prime that I was done with Robots in Disguise. And that was before I saw this figure. I've only seen this figure at Toys R Us, and if you're familiar, the Toys R Us variant of this figure has a different color scheme. I will, actually, I'll show it later when it's out of the packaging, but basically the red seen on the side of the legs and is white. The blue stripe going down the center of each leg is white, as well as the kneecap, and then the shoulder, the pauldrons, the shoulder blade pieces, those are also painted white, and then the chest, shoulder guns, and swords are transparent light blue plastic that are all decked out to look like this, look kind of like this, but slightly better, or slightly more detailed. So the problem is, the caveat was that while I like the mold, the paint scheme that they were using, I didn't like. It honestly made Optimus Prime look more like Ultra Magnus, who I know there are people who really like the character of Ultra Magnus, but I've never really been big on Ultra Magnus. So I never got that figure because I didn't like that color scheme. This is the first time I've seen this particular figure in this color scheme, and so I wanted to buy it. Basically, this is just a slightly upgraded version of the Optimus Prime figure that was released at the beginning of Robots in Disguise. It even has his axe. The only real differences are that the mold is, the chest mold is different. As you can see, it clearly does not match the mold in the picture. And then he has these shoulder cannons and these two swords, which also double as wings. That being said, he does turn into his fairly standard truck mode in only 12 steps, but this represents how he's supposed to look in the, I believe it's the Season 1 or Season 1 finale, and I think technically the Season 2 finale as well. But let's get into it. We've got a lot of ground to cover and a lot of Optimuses to compare it to. For those of you who are a little more familiar with my reviews of different figures, you may be a little confused because I normally start in the robot mode. Because the four fair figures I'm going to be comparing this to are currently in vehicle mode, I didn't want to transform them all at once, or at least right away, so I'm starting off in vehicle mode. I think this is a really nice looking Optimus. The vehicle mode, front truck cabin looks good. He's got the Autobot symbol, though it is sideways on his, basically where the forehead, the top of the cabin. He's got kind of like this weird little engine core thing. I don't really know what's up with that, but I assume that's like some kind of energy power thing. Side looks good. I like the inclusion of the aqua, the light kind of azure blue. It helps break up the red and the dark blue pretty well. Like before, on the original figure, you can store the axe on little tabs on the inside of the thighs. It does look a little weird, but you can choose to not include it. It is the same axe that the other figure has, though, so you can always just have him, you can always just keep it off and have your regular Optimus dual-wielding axes. One thing I will say about the wings on the top is it not only helps cover up the, waist butt section, the thighs and the butt of the figure, but it also gives you technically some weapons. It looks like he's got these two guns or water cannons on the top, which is nice. I like that. But also if you just splay them out, since there's enough clearance, you can have Optimus, the winged truck. This is completely ridiculous, though it is kind of a nice little nod to Cybertron Optimus, who was basically just a flying fire truck, as well as Transformers Animated Optimus, there we go, who could also be essentially a flying truck. I kind of like this, but it takes up a little more room on a shelf. But not bad overall, not bad. Of course, for comparison, since we have to compare it to other Optimuses, I will do that. But first, here he is with Bumblebee, his, I guess, successor in this series. You can see that by comparison, if Bumblebee is the size of a normal car, this is a very small Optimus. I will say that this Optimus is not to scale. I kind of wish they had made this a Voyager figure, which is kind of why I like the Activator. The Activator is to scale with Bumblebee. The Deluxe or Warrior class is not. But they do look good together, especially since Optimus has the Prime. He has the Prime Decepticon Hunter. You can also just give him Bumblebee's sword, which is, as you know, is Decepticon Hunter. Also, for comparison, here he is with Activator Optimus Prime, with, of course, his Minicon companion, who just basically turns into a pistol. You can, of course, take it off, and here's Optimus. As you can see, they're about the same size. I'll rotate this. You can see they're even about the same length. This Optimus has 6 real wheels, while this Optimus has 6 real wheels and 4 fake wheels. But I honestly kind of like this Optimus a little bit more. And of course, this Optimus doesn't have these cannons or sword pieces. Instead, he has these pop-up cannons and the flip-out missiles that are a pain to get back in. But yeah, I mean, that's a good comparison. They're actually about the same size, which is surprising. I expected him to be a little bit bigger. I mean, his truck cabin is bigger, but the rest of the truck itself is about the same size. And also, for comparison, just because I mentioned he should be roughly Voyager size, I do have 2 Voyager Optimuses. The first, of course, being my Dark of the Moon Fireburst Optimus, which is just a recolor of the Voyager Optimus. You can see, despite being a Voyager, they're about the same size, though this Optimus is a little bit shorter. But you can see that's good. They look good, and he has an axe as well as things on his back, so yay for continuity. And then, of course, last but not least, we have the other fairly recent Optimus, Voyager class, the Last Night Optimus, who also has some of that aqua blue in his color scheme. See, once again, about the same size, though, again, this Optimus is taller, and actually a little bit longer. But enough on the vehicle. Let's instead now get into the robot. Here is Power Surge Optimus Prime in his robot mode, and I'm actually going to move him to the side a little bit and move him forward. That way you can see a side-by-side comparison with the mass release version and the Toys R Us exclusive. As you can see, same identical figure, just, different, just slightly different way of painting it. I think this is actually a really nice figure. I never got the original Optimus, but I like this. There's basically no articulation in the feet, but that's okay. He's got these big Optimus Prime boots, which looks good. He's got the nice, cybery detailing on his arms and his legs, which I'll give a little zoom in on that. I think that looks really nice. He's got these big shoulder cannons up top, wings on the back, and he's got his Primax, his Optimus Primax, excuse me. Interesting thing is there's actually a couple, pseudo combination modes. You can detach one of the wings / swords. Spoiler, you can, of course, hold them like swords. And can see they're about as big as the axes. There we go, sword, sword, and then if you want to store the axe on his back, well, good luck with that, because there's really not a place to store it, unfortunately. It doesn't really clip or tab or anything, so you just have to kind of leave it off and hope for the best. However, there is an undocumented mode that I am a big fan of, and that these cannons, since they're parts forming, can come off. And I think personally that this version of Optimus, without the swords, without the cannons, like just this Optimus looks really good, because this is essentially the Season 1 Optimus, just with a little bit of, just with a slightly different deco, a little bit of different molding in the chest, but the sword piece and the gun piece can actually connect to one another, like so. You just have to plug it in like that, and you have the gun, the cannons, on the sword. It's completely ridiculous, but it is something you can do. So you can put this in his hand, and while he's going around dual-wielding swords, he can just point his sword at you and pew 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 shoot out of it. It's not documented in the instructions, but it is a perfectly legal connection. I'm not like forcing it on. It has a little groove on the back designed to fit in, and there's little grooves here to connect to the little side poles. I also do like it that these are essentially symmetrical on both sides, so it doesn't matter which one you put on which side. Not that that's really necessary. I think it's a really nice little figure. It has some good articulation. The only one downside I'd say about this figure is the legs, because, again, there's no foot articulation, but also you've got this weird thing where the foot has a split in it, and this is a slightly different shade of blue, and we just have this plank of red. Personally, I like it better like this. You can see underneath there's red, and then he has the blue heel. Closed, he still has the blue heel, but I don't know, I like that stripe of blue that we don't get when the armor is down. Yeah, so this is Power Surge Optimus Prime. I think if you can find him, regardless of which mold, or sorry, regardless of which skin paint job you find, it doesn't matter if it's this one or the Toys R Us exclusive, I think it's really good. He's a really good figure. I'd recommend getting him if you can find him. And then just for comparison, here he is with Bumblebee, who is grossly oversized, considering he's supposed to go up to like here on Optimus. He's supposed to go up to like his mid-waist, and you can see they're the same size because they're the same size class. One thing that is kind of cool is you can, of course, take Bumblebee's Decepticon Hunter and give it to Optimus so that you can basically pretend he's wielding the Prime Decepticon Hunter. He does hold it a little weird, though, because of how his fists work. But yeah, if you want to give him Bumblebee's sword, you 100% can. It's your toy. You do with it what you want. Here is Activator Optimus Prime with his kind of Combiner Wars-esque guns, wrist cannons, and obviously this one's a little bit taller, a little more scale with how he should be, but I'm not going to complain too much. I like this Optimus significantly better. Of course, he does have his Minicon gun, which is a ridiculous weapon, but it exists. And interestingly enough, we have now two Optimuses that have the symbol on their right shoulder as opposed to like their chest or something. I don't know, I would expect it to see it like on the chest. That's just a personal preference, though. Here we have Dark of the Moon Optimus, the Flare Blast one. You can see knee plates down, knee plates up, doesn't really matter which one. This obviously is more of a beefy Optimus. This Optimus kind of, I don't know, this Optimus has always been rather spindly, in my opinion, and I hate the weapon. The weapon's dumb, and then he's got this weird... Of all my Optimuses, this is my least favorite, and of course, the most recent Optimus on screen, the Last Night Voyager Optimus. You can see there's a lot more red on the Power Surge, but this one, I mean, they do scale well. I mean, obviously they're the same character, so I'd hope they scale well. And this one's got a backpack too. This one's got a sword. It's got the aqua blue. So I mean, I obviously wouldn't put them on a shelf together, but especially since they're from different series. But they at least kind of, you can definitely tell from looking at them that they are Optimuses, and it's it's just a comparison for fun, folks. Anyway, yeah. Power Surge Optimus Prime. Really fun. If you can find it, get it. Until next time, I've been Metagross Freak, and see you around.